You described the president as erratic, foolish, behaved irrationally, bizarrely. You can't leave him alone for a minute. He saw conspiracies behind rocks and was stunningly uninformed. He couldn't tell the difference between his personal interests and the country's interests.
I don't think he's fit for office. I don't think he has the competence to carry out the job.
That was Donald Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton, who is coming out with a book that Donald Trump does not want published, but it appears that he's unable to stop Bolton from publishing it. Now, in the book, he argues that Trump engaged in various instances of quid pro quo against the best interests of the U.S. People living in the United States, but in the best interest of his reelection chances. But more importantly, finally, we have someone calling it like it is and not gaslighting us when it comes to the utter incompetence that we've been experiencing by Donald Trump. So in his book, Bolton writes, he second-guessed people's motives, saw conspiracies behind rocks, and remained stunningly uninformed on how to run the White House, let alone the huge federal government. Also, in a 2018 meeting with Japanese officials, ostensibly about trade policy with North Korea, Trump was told the United States had no greater ally in the Western Pacific than Japan. Trump brought up the attack on Pearl Harbor in December of 1941. In that context, guys, when we were attacked by Japan.
Okay. The Prime Minister of Japan left quickly thereafter. We nuked Japan twice. But that's right now, they're a great ally. That's what we're trying to focus on. We need allies, and no one, insults allies better than Donald Trump, and also befriends dictators and our enemies. I mean, if he's not an agent of chaos, he has a funny way of showing it. I mean, he literally could not be more incompetent in foreign policy if he tried, if he's not doing it on purpose. And we haven't gotten anywhere near the worst part.
So let's focus on some of his foibles when it comes to the Middle East. Trump constantly, according to Bolton's book, confused former Afghan President Hamid Karzai with his successor, Ashraf Ghani. In the midst of sensitive negotiations with the Taliban and the Afghan government, Trump told advisors he believed Ghani was corrupt and that he owned a mansion in Dubai. Karzai was widely seen by American officials as corrupt, not Ghani.
And intelligence officials had to later assure people that Ghani does not have any mansion in Dubai. That's not remotely true. And so, look, guys, this is among the more important ones in terms of his idiocy. There's his corruption, which is a different issue when it comes to dealing with China, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, etc. But when you're talking about how stupid he is, it actually affects policy because we're trying to do a peace deal so less of our soldiers get killed. And he's like, oh, God, he's a corrupt, right? And they're like, no, that's the current leader. Don't say that. Oh, he's got a mansion in Dubai, right? Like he always says, like, oh, I don't need to do any homework and he says this stuff out loud, let alone the revelations from Bolton's book. He said that he didn't need to know anything about North Korea because he would be able to tell if they were going to have a peace deal in literally 1 second as soon as he met Kim Jong-un. Only the dumbest person alive would say something like that. That doesn't make any sense at all. So when he actually goes to do deals, the fact that he doesn't know anything obviously hurts our chances of getting a deal because he's telling the Taliban, your main enemy, our ally, is, you're right, he's corrupt and has mansions all over the world, which isn't true. Such an idiot.
I don't trust Bolton when it comes to his analysis on foreign policy. Let me just get that out of the way because he loves war. He wants to engage in war. He'll do anything to start a new war anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter. He's obsessed with it. So, but he is right in that, in Trump's quest for peace in the Middle East, all he's done is make matters worse with these mistakes and his lack of intellectual curiosity to just learn what the history is, where we are today, what's the best path forward. He absolutely hates intelligence briefings. In fact, Bolton writes that Trump spoke most of the time during intelligence briefings when he's the one who's supposed to be briefed by the individuals gathering the intelligence. So now let's move on to geography, because this is yet another example of Trump just not knowing much about the world around us. He said at one point, "Isn't Finland kind of a satellite of Russia?" Trump asked, according to Bolton's notes. Bolton says later that same day, Trump asked his then chief of staff, John Kelly, whether Finland was part of Russia.
Okay, look, guys, if you don't know the geopolitical circumstances of Finland, I don't blame you, but you're not the president of the United States. Should the president know that Finland is not a satellite country of Russia? Absolutely. Okay. But when he goes further and asks if it's literally a part of Russia, oh, come on, for God's sake. You know that Finland's an independent country, right? It doesn't matter what your profession is. It doesn't matter how much education you have. You know Finland. You know Finland is a country. He doesn't even know that. He's the president of the United States. He does not know that Finland is an independent country. I mean, I'm finished with him. I had to throw that in. Okay.
So let's go through more, because there are just so many examples. I want to give you guys as many as possible. Trump also had a difficult time understanding why the United States had any presence in the Korean peninsula, right? And he would argue, it's been 70 years since the Korean War. Why do we have a presence there? And Bolton writes the following about that discussion. "I did discuss with Trump several times the history of the temporary 1945 division of the Korean, the rise of Kim Il-sung, the Korean War and its Cold War significance, that old stuff. But obviously I made no impact. We endured this cycle repeatedly, always with the same outcome." And look, I read you that part not because I respect Bolton's perspective on foreign policy. I read it to you because it's yet another example of someone trying to have a conversation to inform Donald Trump about something. And he doesn't care. He doesn't care to listen to what anyone has to say. And he always puts his own personal interests, including his political career, above doing the right thing, right? And nothing made that clearer than his exchange regarding Tiananmen Square. So on the 30th anniversary of China's massacre of pro-democracy demonstrators in Tiananmen Square, Trump refused to issue a White House statement. He apparently said that was 15 years ago, by the way, inaccurately. Who cares about it? I'm trying to make a deal. I don't want anything. And that was that. And when he said, "I don't want anything," it means that he did not want to issue a statement commemorating what happened.
Look, it's not just John Bolton. That's why we believe him over Trump, even though they're both odious characters. Every former advisor says it is impossible to get him to concentrate. He will not read past the page. He will not listen to intelligence briefings. He does not care to know the information presented to him. So, because you would care to know that if you were trying to make national security decisions on behalf of America, and you were just a normal, competent person. One, he hates doing homework because he's a child. And two, he doesn't care about America. He's like, blah, 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 national security, we're in danger. Who cares? What does it do for me? And Bolton talks about that. He says, every decision was done through the prism of what is going to help Donald Trump get reelected. Narcissist, pathological liar, absolute child. And every advisor says, no matter how many times you tell him simple facts, he cannot comprehend them. He's literally too stupid to understand. So,
Yep.
I mean, it goes on and on. In Venezuela, when they're talking about maybe doing a coup, which is terrible, and I don't want it. Bolton did want it. But Trump is mixed on it. At the beginning, he's like, oh, that sounds cool. No, it does not sound cool to invade Venezuela. Okay, it might sound like other things, but it doesn't sound cool. And then later, Putin calls him and tells him, oh, you know that the opposition leader, Guaido, is like Hillary Clinton. And he's like, oh, well, then I'm against it. How simple. I mean, if he's not actually directly taking orders from Putin, then he's the dumbest man in America. Oh, you compared Guaido to Hillary Clinton. Well, you don't like him. I changed my opinion on Venezuela. Oh, pathetic through and through in everything he does. Anyone who respects that guy, I have no respect for. If you're actually considering voting for him after finding out all this stuff, there's something deeply wrong with you.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.